Thanksgiving weekend.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the cats, their cat. Eat the cat, eat the cat, eat the cat.
Seeing red, so don't push me. Ain't Donald Trump trying to grab him by the. Said it was some Haitians somewhere out in Springfield. Women doing cartwheels.
Have you seen Garfield?
Eat the cat.
Have you seen Snowball? This about to snowball. I'm about to go off. I can't let this go on. Miss me like an airball. Tell me where my cat is. Cough it up like a hairball. I gotta tell them if they even put a fingernail on Santa's lip.
Just wow. How about that? Some magnificence. This is Thursday night. This is your early introduction to the weekend, and that means this is disasters in the making. I'm Brad Slager, writer on a number of cultural issues for a number of outlets, and we're about to take you down the dark alleyways and dumpster dive in Hollywood with some subpar film entertainment, but I'm not doing it alone. Joining me, always on these fortnight forays into the dark side of Hollywood from ScreenRant.com, is Paul Young. What is going on, Paul?
How you doing this fine evening, Mr. Bradley?
So, first show of the year, and as we like to do, if you're new to the program, what we try to do is tie in a title for our program, a throwback, let's say, of some poor cinema and tie it into something happening in theaters, happening in the news, something pertinent on a weekly basis. But coming up in theaters, pretty big release on the horizon, the latest attempt at remaking Wolfman. Have you caught any trailers or seen a sneak preview of this, Paul?
Yeah, I've seen it, and I don't like what I've seen. And apparently the critics that have watched it don't like what they've seen either, which is not unsurprising because it sounds like they skewed pretty young with it. And it's an old film. They're remaking the 1941 film, Wolfman. I don't know how you do better than that. They've tried a couple times, and it's not worked.
I mean, a lot of times when we see a Wolfman offering come down the pike, it's generally they try to rework it and come up with a new spin on it. Do they not? I mean, we've seen Jack Nicholson try it out. We've seen Benicio del Toro in the titular role. About the only time they've really done something recently that was really significant was American Werewolf in London. What was that, 1980?
Yeah, and didn't that win several awards for like special effects? I mean, it's good. Barker did a lot of the special effects for that thing, I think, and
yeah, they had some groundbreaking practical effects in that one, and really pushed the envelope and revolutionized a lot of practical special effects back in the day. It was also a very well written script. It was kind of an ironic spin on things a little bit. They weren't overly serious, but it was fun. It paid homage. It did a whole lot of things right. Haven't seen a lot of that since, however.
No, and I think it's because they don't know how to handle the property. I mean, they made initially there were 5 movies starring the original Wolfman. from the classic Universal monster, along with Creature from the Black Lagoon and Frankenstein. And I still, to this day, my favorite is still the Abbott and Costello series of movies where they meet the different monsters from that era. I'll sit down and watch those at any time I want to. But after that, it just got weird, right? And it didn't work as much. So
yeah, and there's you can't, besides American Werewolf, you can't really point to one and say, yeah, that's a classic right there. You got to see it. It's always been like, it's all right. It sucks. And then we also have the Teen Wolves in there. Didn't Stephen King try it one time with Silver Bullet, I think?
Yeah. And that's just more of a werewolf stereotype than it is the werewolf character, right? This is supposedly, I haven't seen it. I plan on trying to see it at some point, but it's supposedly an actual reboot of the 1941 film from, with Lon Chaney Jr. They're going after the actual character as opposed to the more of the mythos that the character brings.
Yeah, and if you're looking at a classic, why? That's the thing, is they did it right the first time, and you're not going to do better, really, because it's already lodged in everybody's memory. It's already, held to that esteem, at least as far as the monster movies go. And what was it? 5 years or so ago, Universal was actually going to start a brand new franchise, rebooting all of their monsters in the vault, starting with Tom Cruise and the Mummy, and ending with Tom Cruise and the Mummy.
Yeah, the Dark franchise, and they brought in, they introduced Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And
they had high plans to modernize all of them and create modern franchises. And then the Tom Cruise movie sucked so bad they said, yeah, you know what, we're not going to do that.
Because they changed their whole idea of what they wanted that series to look like. And sometimes the best stories that are told are the ones that are told simply. The original Wolfman films are told simply. That Dracula, Frankenstein, they're all told simply, so you can enjoy the story itself for what it is as it unfolds. And instead, they just try to modernize it and make it too blockbustery. From what I understand, Nosferatu is supposed to be pretty good. I haven't gone out to see it yet. It came out this past Christmas. I kind of want to see where that goes. I don't know if anybody can beat.
I've heard a lot of positive word on that one. Like, it's getting raves as far as filmmaking goes. Very artistic, very boundary pushing, things of that nature.
I don't know if anybody can beat Nicolas Cage as Nosferatu, but we'll see.
And why would you try?
I know. Just once he does it, just shut it down.
Well, we bring all of this up, revisiting all of the past. What would we call this? Lunar canine ventures, as they were, lycanthropes and such. We'll just go with the canine deal. That's what we attach to. So in what we do, Paul and I have a very scientific method of determining what movie we're going to do by saying, holy crap, what'd you think of? So we went with the dog theme, and we settled on one. I got to give you credit. This one's a gem. I love this one. And it's called Man's Best Friend.
Heck yeah. And I've talked about these movies before. This is a Trent film. This is one of the movies that I watched with my buddy Trent at midnight at the AMC movie theater in Orange Park on a Friday night, where we would just show up and watch any movie on a Friday night when it opened that weekend. And this is one of the ones that we watched. I remember very clearly going to see this movie with him.
Okay, now
I talked to him about it this week.
This is when I have to jump in now, because you say you have very fresh memories of this. And then as you're watching the film, you're texting me a bunch of questions. Holy crap, what's going on here? What was this? Who's in this guy? So
look, I'm not saying I watched it from different eyes back then. I was 19, let's see. Came out in November of 2000 or 1993. So I would have been, I was 19 or just before I turned 19 on the 21st. So it was just before my birthday that I saw this movie. So I don't recall. That was 30 years ago, Brad. I don't know if I recall why they did everything. I watched things through different eyes back then. I used to, at one point, my foolish 19 to 20-year-old self thought that Jean-Claude Van Damme would have made the best Marvel superhero. before they were even Marvel superhero films.
No, and I get that. At like decades down the road and such, things will change. But when you're texting me the question, holy crap, is Seth Rogen actually in this film?
Yeah. Now look,
That's what I had to say. Wait a second.
I texted you that. I was like, what is going on here? It's the dog catcher. And I was like, is that Seth Rogen? Is he in this movie? I didn't notice this back then. Then I Googled Seth Rogen's age and he's like 11. I'm like, well, that's not Seth Rogen. Who is this Joker playing this dog catcher that looks like Seth Rogen?
Yeah, so I was
Tell me that dude doesn't look like him.
I can see it. I would even say maybe related. I would, if you told me that was blood on camera right there to the Rogen claim, I'd say, sure, let's go with it. So here's where we have to go. Now we're going to basically open the cage and let this dog hunt. Man's best friend. What we're talking about here is I'm trying to come up with the most genteel, straightforward, lucid way of basically it's a genetically modified Tibetan Mastiff.
Yeah, the weird part is that all the posters make it look like he's a cyborg robot dog.
Well, yeah,
until I watched it, I thought he was I even told you it's about a cyborg dog that goes around killing things and swallowing cats whole. Hence,
you told me this, and then I was supremely disappointed to find out no. So I hold you responsible for that. But yeah, I tweeted out our promo for the show, and I used might be a Russian poster. It's Danish. I can't really tell, but they make the dog, half his face appears to be cyborg in nature. So I'm sure there was at least a couple people back at the box office demanding their rubles, saying there was no robot dog in this film. But that's not to say there wasn't fun to be had. So I will just say, strap yourself in, leash it up. Don't let him off the chain yet. We got a ways to go here. So we open up in a cold, sterile laboratory. You just know something nefarious is going on with the slow tracking camera through the hallways of this partially lit edifice.
Like, why is everything so dark inside of these settings and movies all the time? Like I know the lady's there by herself, but she's got to feed all the animals. Is she doing so in the dark?
Well, this calls to mind one of the things I always love in these films. They show you the building, and it's supposed to look like a sprawling campus, almost multi-floored and all kinds of gleaming walls and floors and everything else, and yet these businesses are rarely ever populated. Like, there should have been 500 people employed at this joint,
and they've got millions of dollars worth of animals here, and they're all doing like highly unethical research, and there's like one security guard.
Yes, part-time apparently too.
Yeah.
But so the film, we're starting with Ali Sheedy, she of the Brat Pack, of course, and Lance Henriksen, stalwart name in action films. I will forever love the man because he was in Stone Cold.
He wasn't still cold, wasn't he? We've talked about that movie. You see how it all comes around. We have like 7 degrees of Lance Henriksen around here.
We always could, yeah. He was like I'd say back in the 80s, he was always good for these subpar films that would get, not a wide release, but not limited either, right in the middle, like about 1,000 screen release movies, those kind of things. And then his career really, just kept going when video came into play. And so he's in a lot of direct-to-video titles, a lot of low-budget releases, things of this nature. But the guy's got a great career. Very fun.
I would say his most popular thing was Bishop from Aliens.
Sure. Absolutely. He just never really hit that high watermark for the next 30 or 40 years. But hey, you got that on your resume? Nothing wrong with that. Go with it. I like Henriksen. Every time he's in something, you just got to watch him. He's, he holds your attention without really chewing the scenery. He's got that camera charisma while not being a very good looking guy.
No, yeah, I'm not a good looking dude, but yeah, he's He's not what you would consider to be the Brad Pitt of
No,
Hollywood.
he's not movie star handsome by any stretch. He's very good at playing the heavy or military guys. You know, he pulls those off pretty naturally. So when it comes to just, you know, we need a guy with gravitas. See what Lance Henriksen up to, and you're gonna watch.
Oh, he carries the character.
Yeah, this guy's solid. I've always enjoyed his stuff. So Ali Sheedy, we come to learn, is a reporter for a television station
With lung cancer.
Oh, I missed that. Did they actually announce that?
No, but she smokes enough cigarettes in this
okay.
movie to get lung cancer during the filming.
Yeah, I was more focused on the animals. So yeah,
The 90s where people were just smoked because they were bored.
The only thing better is when you watch Mad Men and they smoke everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was almost like, what do you mean you're not smoking? I'm not coming back until you light up. But this is this is the 90s. This is standard fare. And there's a young girl working in said laboratory who phones in to Ali Sheedy. And apparently you get the feel there's going to be some kind of whistleblowing going on here. I think she's going to blow the lid off this place, Paul. She's going to let it out.
She's doing it in secret when there's nobody else there.
Yeah. She also calls from the phone inside the lab, so it's probably not the wisest move.
The call is coming from inside the building. But it is the 90s. It's 1993.
Yeah, we don't have as much high-tech tracking. Like, for instance, later on, we'll see when they sneak into the lab, and they get into the lab because the doors were open.
Well, they did have warnings on that that said restricted access, and then no locks.
Yeah,
they were just like push doors. Flow back and forth.
Ignored them. You know, it's just basically that drop handle door handled, and these were painted red, so that should tell you not to go in there.
Oh, yeah,
and then they went in there, Paul. My God,
I don't even know what they were thinking. That should work. I mean, that should work. But it is 1993. Sandra Bullock's The Net hadn't come out until 1995, so nobody really knew how to track people on the internet yet.
Yeah, so right now, when you go into work and you have to bend yourself over so the biometric reading of your eye can give you access, blame Ali Sheedy because she broke into this place.
I'm not gonna lie, when you said bend over for it to read your eye, I thought brown eye, and I didn't understand where you were going. And now I understand what you're doing.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you gotta say for your therapist, Paul. Don't maybe not broadcast that. I'm just gonna
reading the brown eye is gonna be the name of my comedy album.
No, I was talking about retinal scans here, not buffalo shots. Thank you very much. So this young girl, got to be in her 20s, right? She's got the lab coat and glasses. She's kind of nerdy. She looks like she belongs there. While she's spilling the beans, she hangs up and then looks around, and there's a very large cage open. And then, we've seen monkeys and rabbits, and there's a bear. Later, there's a jaguar. Nod to Jacksonville, and a few other wild animals.
Some tigers.
But this cage is open.
And bears.
She creeps up slowly, and there's I'd say a very large looking
harness.
Yeah,
it's weird. It looks like it has two giant cell phones from the 90s attached to the other side of it.
It's got some digital stuff on it. It lights up. There's stickers and indicators and such. Something's loose. And then something that we don't see, it's off camera, hits her, knocks her into the cage, starts attacking her. We see blood on the floor. We see a bloody pump go thrown against the wall. And then a mysterious arm comes out of the darkness and shoots a tranquilizer dart. Intrigue, Paul. We are now slammed headfirst into this film. So as we then learn the calm lifestyle of Ali Sheedy, she tries calling her friend, her contact, the whistleblower, keeps getting no answer. And basically, her and her camera person. Yeah, this movie was woke for 93. They decide naturally, well, she didn't answer her phone. We'll have to break into the laboratory.
And breaking in, let's be honest here. Breaking into the laboratory includes her parked outside of the guard gate of the laboratory that is unmanned and has one arm it's just one single arm. There's no fence, it's just an arm. And they just walk around it carrying what appears to be a large piece of carry-on luggage
Yes.
and a television camera, recording camera that is the size of said luggage. And I don't even understand how that girl was able to carry it around because it was so big.
Yeah, her camera person has to weigh about $110. And this equipment, I'm assuming that was like the battery pack and such. And then she's got a shoulder mount camera that was half her size. She had to have been toting about 120 in gear. And at one point, Ali Sheedy's got the bag and she's like, "Oh, wait, you're the cameraman. You put it on." I was like, "What do you? Oh, you got to carry a pen. How noble of you, Ms. Journalist." So, yeah, the way they break in is they see a couple guys loading stuff into the back of a waste disposal company truck. We can just probably put 1 and 2 together and come up with a fraction that they're probably offloading the body that's they discovered in the lab. But these guys are yucking it up and yammering away, and
Like
they
in-
just follow the ratchet jaws into the building. That's how they break in. These guys are oblivious to 2 women toting gear following them into the building.
And that's the implication, right? Is that they've got this waste disposal, hazardous waste or bio waste, and that's the implication is that the young woman that was killed in the beginning of the movie, that's her body in there. And then when they open it up, you're expecting to see them find the young woman's body, but they don't. They just find a bunch of biological waste. And then go inside like it's like, oh, it's gross. And like, well, that would have ended the film, right? Like right then, hey, we found a body in this waste. We called the cops.
Yeah, it's kind of our usual thing here where we have to fill in blanks. So we're just going to make this assumption. So they follow him into the lab, creep around the place undetected. They get into one chamber that's just filled with cages, different animals in different forms of physical distress.
Did you see the monkey from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? It was good to see him getting work.
Well, yes, he had a good agent back then. Guy was really cranking them out in those days. Yeah, they had like rabbits with sores on their back and cats that had problems with them, and a monkey with an exposed brain, because of course. And they're filming, get this cage, get that one. Here's this one. Then they go upstairs and they get a wide shot of the entire complex. And then they find a big cage with a big dog in it with the electric apparatus around his neck. Now, I'm in a lab. I'm seeing altered animals and such. And last thing I would do is maybe creep up to a cage and start making, googly noises and trying to pet them.
It's so weird that that's the animal she decided to let out. Like, don't go with the friendly bunny. I mean, unless she thought it was the bunny from Mighty Python. Why not go with the friendly bunny to let something out and take home with you, or the friendly kitty cat? I understand why you wouldn't let out the tiger.
There's
or
a
the
kitten
bear.
the size of a sandwich. You could have, then curled up to that little thing and said, yeah, nice. No, let's go with the Tibetan Mastiff that weighs 140 pounds, drooling with electrodes all over its body.
And probably has blood all over the cage.
I mean, this is a cuddly little thing, isn't he? But she's all googly, ooh, doo, and opens the cage. What the hell?
And then starts petting it.
Snuggling
She's
up
like,
to
gets
him
in
and then puts her arm around him. Take our picture. Do it. This is like a 93 selfie. Isn't he adorable? Now,
And she's
finally,
all
a
in his
security guard.
face.
Lance Hendrickson shows up with a couple cages. Got some new monkeys to work on here. Hands them off to a security guard, and here, go put them in the cavern. And as he's there, he sees the light, discovers the camera crew. They have to beat Cheeks out of there. Lance Hendrickson is all mad. Somebody broke into his lab. And security is so tight in here, the girls get out with absolutely no pressure whatsoever.
Because it's just that one dude and like one guy pushing like the janitor dude.
So they're in the parking lot. run into the car, and the dog now is out of the cage and loose. And he's like, well, nuts to this. I'm done with this place. And breaks out through an air vent, starts chasing the girls down, and hops in the car without their permission. And she's like, oh my gosh. She's like, just get in. Now, we've seen the dog already kill a very sweet looking young woman. He's totally cool with these two, though. He's like, just can't get enough of him. I just love you.
Because I guess she petted him. Like that was his reason for not, murder biting her was petting him. But the other girl was just feeding him. It's not like she was beating him up, but maybe he was like had like something that he didn't like, the white lab coats. Maybe he associated that.
That's it.
This dog is like super smart.
Well,
they make this dog as smart as it needs to be for the moments that it needs to be.
But we learn all that later. Here, we're putting things together. Like, they haven't actually shown that it was the dog that killed her. We're making assumptions. However, given that he's wearing the same harness as the one that was in the cage that she discovered, okay, I think it's cut and dry. He's a killer damn dog. And now he's in the back of their LTD and everything's cool. So Ali Sheedy takes him home and is just nothing but snuggle bunnies with this dog. Oh, I love you so much. And he's cool. And the dog hates her boyfriend. He comes
she's a helicopter owner.
What's going on? I can't stand this. Like, she's in the bathroom with the dog and he's barking up a storm. The boyfriend has never seen the dog. Okay. And she comes out and he's like, what do you do? That's a 140-pound dog that almost killed me. He's like, no, it's not. You don't know that. You just heard him bark. There's no way that you're grasping how big this dog is. Now, he sounds big. I'll give you that, but come on. So the dog at this point loves Ali Sheedy, hates the guy. It's been established. We have something of a love triangle taking place now.
And that's where this movie gets super weird, is that they give the dog some sort of alpha male personality where he both, I don't know, he could be studied by Freud. He's got some sort of mom complex, right? Was it what do they call that?
The Oedipal.
Right? Oedipus complex, where he wants to be with his mother and wants nobody else to be with his mother, but then at the same time he's okay going out and humping some random collie down the street.
Yeah, but this also presents something of a plot hole here, because we learn later on from Lance Henriksen that the dog is genetically modified, but he keeps it under control with regular doses of some sort of serum that'll calm him down and make him manageable. Okay, then if that were the case, why did he kill the girl in the lab? Why is he trying to kill the boyfriend? Why is he an angry son of a bitch over here but loves Ali Sheedy? It makes no sense as far as that goes. And I'm sorry I said son of a bitch, but biologically, that's accurate.
That is correct, yes.
So Ali Sheedy has this monstrous looking dog, and she thinks it's a swell idea to have the neighborhood kid who weighs about 60 pounds to go walk the dog in the neighborhood.
He's wearing rollerblades and just comes into her house. Now, she doesn't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
She lives with her boyfriend, and she lets the neighborhood kid just come in, and he has fridge privileges. He's just eating old pizza. At one point, he's making a milkshake. Like, he's just wandering around. He's on his rollerblades. His dad's across the street or down the street or something
the kid, he lives doors away, but he just like doesn't even knock on the door. He just comes walking in. He's like, how you doing, Ali Sheedy? I want some food. Oh, there's carrot sticks in here. He's like, screw that. There's pizza. I'm taking the pizza.
And he always makes statements that make you think he's living in some sort of battered home, right? Like, he says, oh, you're so lucky, or I'm used to having day-old pizza because of my dad. And you're just like, well, are you going to show me his home? And it's going to be like a trailer with cigarette butts everywhere and a toilet for a planter in the front yard? No, it's a nice little house with a literal white picket fence in front of it, and a collie dog in the front yard. I'm just like,
I mean, yeah, he's got a large collie as his own dog pet. He pretends like he's never seen a dog before, and I just love him so much, and he is so cool. This is awesome. Oh my god, you got a dog, and so do I. But he goes to walk
really
her
weird.
dog, not his, and he walks by his house, and the dog's name is Max, by the way.
Yeah, and which is weird because the name of the genetic company is Emax, which they can either sell you a home or they can sell you male fertility pills. It's one of those two. I would not have put genetics research into Emax, but I would have done either one of the other two.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess maybe they can do both, and you can get, servants' quarters dysfunction pills or something like that. I don't know. Pool adjacent. But Max is the dog. We know this because they say his name about 7,000 times in this film. We get it.
It's a terrible name for a dog, by the way.
The young kid goes down the street and by the way, he's an abused kid they're trying to sell us. He's got brand new top of the line rollerblades and a brand new helmet. He's dressed to the nines. The kid's put together. I don't know what he's complaining about. Goes over to his house with Max, and the collie's out in the yard, and Max falls in love, wants to tear down the fence. The whole time we just have this foreboding promise of violence in front of us.
And not to mention the dad comes out. Now he's with his buddy. Remember, he's with his little weird buddy on the bike. Right. They're just riding down the street like people used to let their kids do back in the 90s, unsupervised. You let your 9-year-old just ride around. And the dad comes out, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm on the dad's side. I understand what he's doing. That dog is barking. I just got done working night shift. I'd like to go to sleep. Take that dumb dog that isn't yours somewhere else down the road so I can go back to sleep. Dad's clearly in his pajamas. He's just bringing his dog in, trying to do his thing, work, earn a living. And they're making him out to be like some sort of bad guy. But they never even provide any proof or evidence of such terrible deeds going on in that home. I thought they were going to set it up so that the dog protected the kid from the dad. And they didn't do that.
No, they didn't. That was a disappointment. I will say this, though. You could maybe suggest the father has a little bit of negligence about him. After all, this is the first time he's seen his kid with a 140-pound Tibetan Mastiff. I'd maybe have questions about my kid's safety at this point in time. Where's the dog? What are you doing with it? How is this thing not dragging you face first down the pavement? Concern would come over me, but that's my paternal instinct coming to light here. I'm just saying. The dog weighs twice as much as the kid. He's on rollerblades. This isn't going to end well.
Yeah, he's on rollerblades. He's safe. You can't be dragged down the street when you're on wheels.
Put the dog back and go skate on a hill. That's much safer. Something like that. Well, the two kids are now walking the dog after he falls in love, and they bring the dog back inside. Max, let's just say it. Max has been affected. He's got the little bit of the bug. He's taking a shining to the collie. We'll just say that. But as they walk down further down the street, the kids start goading him. Hey, there's a cat.
That's Mrs. Thompson's cat or something. I hate that cat. It always tries to scratch me. Yeah, well, no duh, you little piece of crap. He probably over there poking it with a stick.
Yeah. Maybe leave the wild cat alone is all I'm saying. So Max sees the cat. A switch goes off in his head. Boom. Cat beats Cheeks out of there. Max beats after him. The kids are like, well, this is not going well.
And it's like, go get him, Max. Go get the cat. Go kill that cat, Max.
And so the cat makes it up a tree. And I got to say, they actually filmed this scene pretty well. This came out well. So Max now, he's trying to jump on the tree. He's on the trunk. And then they do a close-up and you see his claws come out. And then Max starts climbing the tree. Now, of course, they filmed this with the dog crawling horizontally on a log, but tilt the camera, and what do you know? The dog's climbing a tree. It looked pretty good. And then he gets the cat cornered.
It's the same technology they used in the Batman show back in the 60s.
Yes. Camera to 45 and have them crouch. I'm climbing a wall. That's what I'm doing. So Max makes it to the cat, and damn, if this there wasn't enough blood, but this looked pretty good and realistic. He gets a hold of the cat, and we watch him swallow the cat whole.
They're
Damn.
eating the cats, or they're eating the dogs.
Now,
Do
I
you
will
know how
say
they did that? Do you know how they
Yeah.
did that shot?
I was just gonna say there wasn't a lot on the making of this film. I did a fair amount of research on it, and it just ain't out there. Nobody
No.
cared about this film, so tough. But they actually made a life-size puppet head. It was hollowed out. They had the cat crawl through the head, out of the mouth of the dog, and then they pulled it back inside. And meanwhile, somebody's operating the jaws open and closed. So yeah, and well, goodbye, Tabby.
And then they played it backwards because he was crawling out of the head, and they played it backwards to make it look like he was being sucked back into the body.
Yeah, so Max just ate a cat. Damn. And the kids are, doing the most natural thing possible. This was your idea. No, it was your idea. You thought of it. Damn it. All right. And then they just beat out of there. Gone.
And they tell nobody. He doesn't like return the dog and go, he ate a cat. I got to go by. Like, I don't even think they returned the dog.
No.
I
No,
think
there's
they
a killer, murderous Tibetan Mastiff on the loose, but as we've come to learn, or we're told, Max is actually brilliant, and he finds his way home without a problem. He's back in the good graces of Ali Sheedy. Loves her to death, which I got to tell you right now, this should have been called Woman's Best Friend.
Yeah.
He hates every guy in this movie.
Every
man
is-
dies in this film from the dog. So maybe the title is ironic. I'll go with that. But now we start to get a window into the mind of Max, because the next day she lets the young kid walk the dog again. Why the kid wanted to is a mystery, but they're walking it up, and there's a couple guys outside working on the truck in the street, putting in new brake lines, and the dog pauses, checks him out, and the mechanic's underneath, and he's like, "Oh, hey, what's up, little guy? What do you want to help me? Why don't you hand me that brake line?" And then Max grabs the brake line and hands it to him.
Yeah. So I guess we're supposed to believe that this dog is smart enough to both know what a brake line is and what a brake line does. And he's never seen a brake line because he's been stuck in a cage in a
Now,
genetics
Paul, they
research
explain it to us pretty
facility.
clearly. This dog has learned up to 350 commands.
As one of
So
them is brake line.
I'm pretty sure at some point in time he was trained in the nuances of hydraulics. Yes.
And
Pretty-
by the way,
I
who
don't know why you're
replaces their
questioning
brake
this.
lines in the street?
Well, this is San Pedro. It's what you do. I don't really know.
San Remo.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
That's why the police it's a smaller city. That's why the police officers are still driving those Ford LTDs from the 80s. The brown nondescript ones that could just easily be like,
Right.
Dukes of Hazzard crash.
Yeah, pretty much you just slap a magnet sign on it and it's official. Police car. Wait a second. Medical examiner's car. Wait a second. Pizza delivery car. All right. I did shortchange one thing though. After eating the cat, Max went back to the kid's house and had his way with the collie.
Yeah.
To the point that he slips into the house, into the bedroom. The collie hides under the pillows and then brings her head out and says, "Oh," and then we watch Max go, backs up and swats the door with his ass to shut it for privacy.
Yeah. Yeah. There's dog rape in this movie.
Like, oh, you're mine, bitch.
I mean, I understand if there was this is a movie about a killer duck and they wanted to put in duck rape because that's the thing in the real world. But they get 100% treat this dog rape scene as if it's legitimate. Like we're gonna like it as an audience. I'm like, this is
Yeah,
so weird.
There was a lot of A lot of full-on camera shots of Max's face in this scene, and at one point I could pretty much see his thoughts is like, "Oh, don't pretend you don't want it." That literally was what he conveyed. So we're back at the house. The boyfriend again is like, "Oh, that dog doesn't like me." Max goes outside at one point, and we have this scene where he just stares intently at the boyfriend's truck. He's literally plotting something.
Like he's trying to figure it out.
It's
He's putting it all together.
You know what I could do to get even with this bastard?
I don't like him. Oh, well, he doesn't like him because he was in there. They were having sex at one point, remember? And he's watching him through the keyhole, which apparently you can do. You can look through the keyhole of a house door and as a dog and see what's happening on the inside.
Well, yeah. I mean, if the house was built in the 1910, you had that skeleton key to get into every door in a house. Sure. But later, now this kind of was stupid. The boyfriend, we see him later driving down the street, and there's a car behind him honking furiously. And he's, keeps waving, just go around, just go around. Then the car pulls up next to him, and there's a German Shepherd that just starts barking.
For no reason.
And the car doesn't go around. It stays right there.
Well, okay, so that part's explained, I think, because at some point, Hendrickson's character says that Max is smarter than a German Shepherd. And I think the German Shepherd is trying to warn the guy that, hey, I think he messed with your brake line. You need to stop your car and check it out. I think that's what it's happening. If you turn the subtitles on, you can see that the dog is saying that. It's a hidden gem.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I might want to say you're reading a lot into this, Paul, but
The German Shepherd is the hero of this movie. Unsung hero.
So after being distracted by the dog, he turns his attention forward and almost plows into a work crew. He can't stop. His brakes are out. Thankfully, he's got the handbrake, yanks on it, just avoids disaster. Then we go to a mechanic shop to find out what the problem is. Here it is. Your brake line is got teeth marks all over it there.
It's got teeth marks on your brake line.
The part I enjoyed, though, is the car's up on a lift now and the mechanic is looking at things. While eating a burrito, he's handling the greasy brake line with the same hand holding the burrito. It's just brake fluid in it, like it's hot sauce or something. I mean, he's basically rubbing it around the wheel well. It's like, here's a problem right here.
We figured it out.
I can taste the problem. It's your brake line. So that got thwarted. We later see Max. Now, I'm completely baffled and confused by this aspect of things. As Max is kind of tormenting the neighborhood, I guess, looking around ominously. He takes a leak on a fire hydrant and he pisses acid.
Okay, look, we need to pause for a moment because I don't understand this point. This is why people think it's a cyborg dog, because he's got acid pee. Like that, there's not an animal. But later the doctor's like, yeah, I've bred him with genetically modified him to be like the chameleon and
that's the thing.
Owl.
Hendrickson
What animal in life pisses acid?
I want to say wasps. Maybe something there. Wouldn't that like a murder wasp has acid in its sting or something? That's about all I can come up with.
Murder wasp.
Hendrickson said he's like, we have all these animals and the camera will then be zoomed in on one animal each time as we have a certain trait for each one of them. That we took that trait out of its genetic profile and spliced it into the dog, including chameleons. Yes, later in the film, this dog camouflages. I don't mean against like a gray background and he turns gray. He turns invisible in a completely packed garage.
All right, I'm gonna have to apologize because apparently there are some fishes and reptiles and birds that can have gastric secretions of hydrochloric acid when they feel threatened.
So we're all. It's completely
Thanks for
scientific.
proving me. Thanks for proving me wrong. Thanks for proving me wrong there, Google.
So this movie is absolutely believable now. We have a Tibetan Mastiff that pisses acid. Perfect.
I'm gonna send you a picture right now, and it's a picture of a bunch of ants on a log, and they're all shooting acid, and not in the way that you would think, not in the way that you would think from the 70s.
I would yes, I do recall ants doing this. I forgot we did have one scene too where they were buying groceries for the dog early on, and at night they got mugged. The dog opens the car door, chases the mugger down the street, and returns with her purse because she's a girl and he loves girls. Woman's best friend, as I said. Later on, a discovery in an alley of a dead mugger. And now the two cops I love. These two cops are like, I want to say maybe the most realistic people in this film. Because like Lance Hendrickson has gone to them now, is like, yeah, somebody stole my dog. You got to get something. And they're about as cynical as can be. Yeah, sure. We're all about your dog. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go rescue him right away. We got nothing else to do here.
Yeah, and Robert Costanzo has been around for a while. I mean, he's a recognizable character. You see him.
I love him.
He was like in Die Hard 2 and Total Recall, City Slickers. I mean, he's been in a bunch of stuff. You recognize him almost immediately. The other fella, John Cassini, I don't recognize him at all, but he is dressed in such a 90s fashion with that suit and the tie the whole time, the little tiny knot at the top of it, and the oversized elbow pads. I mean, bro screams 90s the way he dresses.
Well, I mean, like Costanzo, this guy's been in like close to 300 things. He's got 300 screen credits.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he's in everything. I'm pretty sure I've seen him in, when the girls are watching Charmed or something. He always pops up in one episode, and he's just that brusque New York guy. You know what you got to do? You got to back the hell off of me right now because I'm doing my job. You see? So shut up your mouth. I'm doing something. He's just that guy. Everything he does, he's that exact same guy.
Yep.
I remember seeing him, man. Back in the 70s, Major League Baseball, they used to have like a promo, and they're highlighting all the current stars, and then these two guys are watching baseball like 150 years in the future. He's like, back in the day, who was a good ball player? I'm telling you, that Hank Aaron guy, he could hit a home run. He didn't need no zero freaking gravity. He could hit it out of the park now. You know what I'm talking about? And the guy stealing the bases, he didn't have no jetpack on him, huh?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, this is just what they were doing. They were just riffing. He's like, Eddie, these baseball players today, they're full of crap. I mean, back in the day.
Hey, since you did bring up baseball, can we just give a quick moment of silence for the passing of the late Bob Uecker?
Oh yes,
I mean, he was
Bob Uecker.
Mr. Belvedere, was Major League. I mean, obviously he played baseball too.
Mr. Belvedere was the one thing I just never understood. What's he doing in this? Because it wasn't really him in it. I mean, he wasn't doing his thing. He was just straight man, really.
91. That's a long. I mean, rest in peace, there, Bob.
But I mean, he was a great baseball announcer. He was great in Major League playing a baseball announcer, but even funnier. He was great in the Miller Lite commercials. Best thing about being a former major leaguer, call the front office, boom, free tickets. I must be in the front row. And then next thing, he's like in the last row of the stadium. He missed the tag.
He was great. That dude was so funny.
He is. I mean, if you would just want to have some good laughs, just go on YouTube and just Euchre stories. They're all over the place. He gives speeches and stuff, and it's hilarious. So we got the cops that are half-assing it through it, and they see the mugger dead. Hey, what are you going to do? Well, of course, what you're going to do is bring in the guy from the laboratory. And Lance Henriksen comes up and he's like, I told you guys, this is it. Max did this. This is Max's doing. You just implicated yourself in a death. You are now responsible for, you just said that I have a killer dog on the loose. That means anytime this dog kills, you're on the hook. So I don't know what you're doing. But he's apparently, this is going to compel the police to take action. If I don't get him his serum, he's just going to kill more. Well, guess what? He kills some more.
He's killing some more.
You got a mad dog? Well, you got to have a mailman scene, don't you?
Oh my gosh. This
Boy, do we get one. Now, I don't generally focus on mailmen in movies, but I do got to say that we just might have the cockiest mailman I've ever seen on film.
What if you don't focus on the male men, what kind of men do you focus on? The female men?
Well,
hold on. I go get my drum and my
Yeah.
cymbal.
there you go.
Ba-dum.
So we see this guy deliver the mail. The dog comes up behind him, creeping up slowly, and looks at him. And he's like, "Hey, how you doing, doggy?" And then all of a sudden, the mailman just turns into a complete ass. Oh, not like, good dog, let me get by. No, he's like, "Oh, what are you gonna stare at me like that? I got something right here on my hip. Pepper spray. Get out of my way, you piece of crap." And he just like starts belly aching at the dog for no reason. The dog growls, sprays him down, and the dog shakes it off. And he's like, "That's all you got?" And that pretty much is going to be it for the mailman. So they start doing a slow motion chase. He goes over a fence. The dog gets his ankle, crashes down. The dog jumps the fence and right on the neck. Bam. Sorry, folks, your Amazon deliveries are probably going to be late this week. Mailman's a goner. And then later we see just how cagey and clever Max is. He drags him under the house and starts burying the guy.
Male and all, and nobody notices. Nobody notices for days. This mailman's been missing for days, and nobody says a word. He's under the house rotting to the point where they find bugs crawling in and around his open eyes and mouth. And
I mean,
no
we
one
see
says a
Max
word.
taking a lot of time to bury him in a shallow grave, and I think he even established an alibi. Probably went back to the Colley's house like, "Hey, listen, I was here nailing you. If anybody asks, I was here in bed with you, okay? Just that's it."
If anybody asks,
So we're back in the lab now, and there's a new girl going through the cages, and she thinks it's very swell. She's smiling and cooing at all the animals with open wounds and distress in their lives. Now, I didn't see this in the early. Did they telegraph this in the early scene or not? But she bends down and she finds a VHS tape underneath one of the cages.
yeah. So when they were trying to run away, somehow they're carrying all their VHS tapes to record on, which is weird because they record on beta. They don't run around with a, like a, what do you call it, a regular VHS tape.
Mm-hmm.
They use a different type of tape inside of those cameras. And as she's running, one of them just falls out, and then it's as if she threw it like a frisbee, and it just hits the ground and spins in a circle, and then lands on the ground underneath the cage. And the girl just goes, I'll leave my evidence behind with my name on it and what film studio or we work for.
Well, that's
that.
there's another convenient plot hole because this thing is already labeled with Ali Sheedy's name on it and dates and stuff like that. No, that's supposed to be a blank case, and then after you film it is when you label it. And for this episode, this story, something like that. But it's already pre-labeled. You brought pre-recorded tapes with you. You're begging to get caught. That's what I'm saying. So the new assistant finds this, hands it to Hendrickson. Hendrickson's like, "Well, now I got something to go on. I know who has my dog." He goes to the station and gets nowhere. Basically throw him out. And he realizes he's got to get to this woman's house. The dog is now on the loose, and we get our dog catchers.
Seth Rogen.
It's kind of, I guess they're the right guys for the job. These two clearly hate dogs. Like they're just antagonistic to him. Like this little, they're catching this little purse dog and they're mocking him. They're like, "Oh, come on, you don't make me get the taser because I'll do it." Hey, high five. I'm going to beat up a dog that weighs 10 pounds.
And it's so weird because there's parts of this movie that it's clearly trying to be some sort of action thriller horror film, but there's parts of this movie that feel very Disney-esque, just like in the caricatures of of the people playing them, from the police officers to the security guard to these dog catchers. Like everybody's over the top, kind of Disney-fied. In fact, there's a whole chase scene in this movie where it might as well just been playing yakety sax while they were doing it. Everybody's like bumbling around, and the cops are shooting at everything, and the dog's like, the dog's just running around, and the dog catchers are all like, it does not feel like it's a slapstick comedy at some point, like they're trying to make it that way.
Yeah, and I'm only guessing, but I think they were trying to maybe leaven a little bit of the tension and horror with comedy at times. It's not like over the top slapstick. It's just like goofier characters or a little, over the edge as far as their personality goes. It's like, oh, there's the dog now. Let's go get him.
It's just so weird. It didn't make any sense.
So what? Okay, yeah, go get him, I guess. Knock yourself out. So so we get this chase scene between the cops. There's like 4 cop cars chasing Max, and Max will only stay on the road apparently, because at one point he gets on the radio and he's like, "Go around the other side and we'll box them in," because dogs don't run through yards and jump fences and stuff like that. No, they stick right on the roadway.
Yeah, apparently Max was the original Crypto the super dog. Well, I mean, let's go through everything they've done at this point with Max, right? We know he can break out of a steel cage. Mm-hmm. We know he can piss acid, which still doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. I don't get it. It's just dumb. He's got the superhuman dog strength. He's got high intelligence, the ability to camouflage himself, and we know he can run at least 55 miles an hour, because at some point they make an attempt to say, like, they specifically go camera on the speedometer, it's at 55 mile an hour, and he's staying ahead of the cars.
Yeah,
he's a super dog.
And I have to assume he's also been programmed with Garmin. That's why he sticks to the road.
With Garmin, that should have been his name.
Ooh, there you go. That would have been catchy, right? Mm-hmm. So I will give the cops some credit. They did manage to box him in. However, Max has superpowers. He also has a green screen, but Max jumps through the air over the cop cars, green screen aided, and lands on the other side and escapes while they all nose into each other. And it's like, "Oh, foiled again by that dog. I'm shaking my fist." Then he gets away, but as he's running by, the dog catchers see him, chase him into a garage, and then he disappears in front of their eyes with his magical camouflage. And then he appears in front of them, but doesn't quite kill them, and they make it back to the truck, and they just beat cheeks out of town at that point. We're done. And Max goes back home now. The cops are at this point fed up. We're going to get that dog. We're going to shoot him no matter what. At the house, Max finally confronts the boyfriend and has his way with him. So the boyfriend runs into a closet. Max busts through the door with one leap, attacks him, drags him out, pisses acid on his face, and basically renders the guy. And I did just say that sentence, and it's because it actually occurred.
See, so here's the thing. They went from making a thriller horror action film to some sort of weird Disney film to a movie starring R. Kelly. I don't understand what's happening here on how they decided to go with this thing.
He's the Diddy dog.
The Diddy dog.
Then the cops do show up, and my favorite detective then gets in Ali Sheedy's face. He's like, "Let me tell you something. We're gonna get this freaking psycho mutt."
Yeah, because she tells him she's packing. She's got a brand new puppy, and she's packing to go who knows where. Was she going? Oh, she's going to the hospital to be with her pissed on boyfriend. And the cop's like, "Where do you think you're going? If you leave this house," he goes, "I'll tell you one thing. If you leave this house, I'm going to arrest you. And if you don't leave this house, then you can stay here and help us. And then we're going to catch this psycho mutt." And I'm like, how are those your options? Well, why would you not just go ahead and arrest her? You know she stole the dog. She clearly stole the dog.
Yeah, but she got to help him get that freaking psycho mutt. That's what she got to do. So,
oh, you know what we completely passed over? Her trying to get rid of the dog to the junkyard.
Oh yeah, that was stupid. It made no sense. So she's got her friend who owns a junkyard, but also supposedly a 15-acre ranch somewhere.
Well, I think he's just saying that to get this junkyard dog. But who was the guy playing the? I've seen him before.
Oh, he's been in a lot of stuff. He was in Blade Runner, but he was Larry of Larry, Daryl, and Daryl fame from the Newhart show.
Is that William Sanderson?
Yeah,
it is William Sanderson.
Yeah. How you doing? I'm Larry. This is my brother Daryl. This is my other brother Daryl.
And he just beats the dog in the back of the head with a rubber shovel. You can see that the shovel is rubber.
The whole time she's like saying, "The cops are going to come. They're going to confiscate him back to the lab. I'm doing this for his own good." She has this tearful goodbye. And the whole time you're looking at it, when Christopher, you're like, "No, this guy's a piece of crap. Don't do it." He obviously hates this dog. He's like, "Oh no, he's definitely going to run all over the acreage and have all kinds of fun. There's a creek he can swim in." And like, no. I'm not taking my dog. You're not babysitting my kids. Get away from me. So literally, as soon as she turns the corner, he chains him up. The dog starts barking, and he grabs a snow shovel, cracks him on the skull, and then later the dog recovers, breaks his chain, kills Sanderson. He's back on the road. He's now covered in blood from Sanderson when he gets back to their house, and that's when he takes care of the boyfriend. Acid, piss, and all. This movie, I swear, it is too fun. So so now we got the freaking detective. He's crawling through the yard and he sees a post office baseball hat on the ground. Being a detective, he naturally thinks, you know what, I gotta go climb under this freaking house. And so he does, finds the mail scattered around, finds the bag, finds the pile, cockroaches all over the dead body. And then Max is like, "Hey, that's mine." Kills the detective. Okay. You can't have them.
And so earlier in this scene, it's daytime. The kid comes in and he says, I'm going to make myself a milkshake, and proceeds to just do what he wants to in this woman's house. And he's getting out the milk and he's getting out the ice cream and he's pouring it in a blender. And that's why they can't hear that her boyfriend's up there getting peed on by an acid dog. And then the cops come, the chase scene happens, and then they come back and they're like, "We're going to stay here all night and wait for that freaking pooch to come back," is what they're going to do. So the cops are running around like he's a serial killer getting ready to return. So instead of being all like, they're just sending people home. And then in that same scene, no one cleaned up the kitchen. So that cop is standing there and starts to drink the milkshake that's been sitting out on the counter for hours. Now, the milk has started to go bad, and it's mixed with melted ice cream. And this dude just picks it up because he's eating a bag of Lay's. And he's like, "Yep, might as well make myself fatter," and just like drink it down. And then he walks out. He hears something in the woods. He walks outside to investigate, but doesn't call anybody else to say, "Hey, I heard something. I'm going to be out looking around. Somebody come over here and watch my back." Nope, I'm just going to crawl under this house by myself and look for something strange. He deserved to die, is what I'm
What
saying.
does he find?
He deserved to die.
Yeah, I think he broke protocol a couple different ways for sure. But yeah, maybe the milkshake would have killed him. Sounds good to me. But hey, I'm going to drink this freaking thing and nothing you can do about it. So he's dead. And then we find later his partner in the car falls out with his face all chewed up. I'm assuming he got pissed on as well with the acid dog. Sure looks like it. And then Lance Henriksen pops up on the scene because, of course, he was there. Grabs Ali Sheedy and the puppy, forces her into the car. Let's go. We're going to go get the dog. We're going to save the dog, I guess, by going back to the lab and getting the serum that will calm the dog down. Okay. They're driving. The dog's now chasing them, unbeknownst to them initially. Then he jumps on the car, jumps on the roof, all while the car is still moving, by the way. Never dawns on Lance Henriksen to maybe slam on the brakes and send him flying, turn a corner and send him flying, anything of the sort. No, I'll just keep driving straight so the dog can get on the hood, stick his head through the windshield and grab the gun that he was going to use to kill him. Of course. All of which then proceeds to lead them to the building where he's no longer able to operate the gas and brake pedal, and the car just plows right into the front of the building.
And does like that whole mid-'80s Dukes of Hazzard car flip where you're just, I hit a wooden guard shack. That clearly needs to flip me upside down and I'll land inside of another building. Again, no guard there.
This was the 1990s. Every car chase has to end with a car hitting a ramp and spinning in the air upside down. That was a cinematic rule of the 90s.
I forgot about that.
The other one, too, is if ever a car goes off the road and lands in the water, you're absolutely required to film that in slow motion. No car has
I forgot
ever
about
hit
that
the
rule,
water.
too.
Never hits the water in full speed. You always have to do it in slow-mo. So they've made it to the laboratory. I'm sorry, the dog's dead. The dog had his head in the windshield as the car was racing, flipping, and crashing into the building.
There's no way this dog is dead. The junkyard guy blowtorched him to the face, and he survived. Yeah. The dog's a survivor, Brad.
He was genetically bred to survive car accidents, I suppose. Tell me which animal that came from.
Rhinoceros.
Ooh, good one. Okay. He's got a stronger head that can withstand impact.
Not that I've been thinking about it.
Also, we did a little bit of moose too with the antlers. There you go. Just in case.
He's got the fur of a snapping turtle.
Henriksen, Ali Sheedy, the puppy, all survived this crash into the building. So I guess we have to have a climax. They're all bloodied up and hurt, and they're knocking through the joint. The dog's tracking them down. He's still in there. And then
you've got, before you get to the final scene, you have got to address the name of the puppy and how he got his name, because it is important to what you're about to talk about.
All right, so bring it.
All right. The puppy, she wants to name the puppy Barney. And he says, no, I don't want to name the puppy Barney. I've been calling him Spike. And she's like, why Spike? He goes, because he likes to play with these. And he picks up the cord, a plug, an electrical plug, and he sticks it in front of him. The dog starts snapping at the little electrical plug. And she's like, no, that's a dumb name. And then later, as they're walking around the kitchen, the camera pans down and the dog unplugs the blender. He pulls on the plug from the wall and unplugs from the blender. Remember that for what you're about to talk about.
Yes. This was like their Chekhov's gun moment.
They set themselves up. I'll give them that. They set this part of it up, and they followed through with it.
Playing with an electrical plug that's going to be used later in the film. Jeez, this is so stupid. So they're doing the alien thing where they're creeping around corners and cages and stuff, and the dog's chasing and coming after them and doing this and doing that. And Hendrickson finally gets to the part of the lab he needed to get to with the serum, as the dog is now protecting Ali Sheedy and barking at him and growling and snarling. Where was the tranquilizer gun?
It
Because-
was on, well, it was originally on the dash of the car. So I don't know if it just got. I think he went and got a different gun because he had a shotgun near the end.
Yeah, he came in with a shotgun, but when he gets the serum, why didn't he have the tranq gun for it like he did when the girl died at the very beginning of the film? He had to have a few of these scattered around the lab.
I don't know. He did shoot that one security guard at the news station in the chest with one, and no one ever
See?
talked. And no one ever talked about that again. Which
Including
it was,
us.
Well, it was because I forgot, and now I remember seeing that scene, thinking, why did he take the security guard's gun and then toss it underneath the car, and then just nonchalantly walk into the building when nobody seemed to care that he could just walk into the building whenever he wanted to?
Yeah, it's there's just a lot of that in this film. Things that you're supposed to do that doesn't make any damn sense. So just do it. So Hendrickson's in with the serum. The dog gets the drop on him. That goes astray. So at one point, now he shoots the dog leaps. He's got the rifle now, shotgun, hits the dog in midair. He flies backwards through glass and lands on top of one of the cages. Max is basically rendered.
That's his
And this-
Hans Gruber moment.
And this is when we see Spike. God. It's a little Jack Russell puppy.
Yeah, go ahead and say what he does. Go ahead and say it.
And Spike now, after cowering and pissing on himself under the cages all this time, comes out and heroically finds a plug, gets it in his mouth, and plugs it into a socket. And this electrifies the cage that Lance Hendrickson just landed on.
I think this might be the same Jack Russell from Frasier.
Moose. And this is now our bittersweet end to the film. Max has perished. Lance Hendrickson has perished. And Ali Sheedy has Spike.
Well,
Well,
not all of that though.
We're not finished, though. There's a little bit of a coda to this film. For once, Ali Sheedy goes over to the boy's house. He's very excited. Come in. You got to see it. And I swear at this point, I was like, oh my God, don't even do this. Don't go there, movie. Do not do. And the movie went there.
Mm-hmm.
So we get inside the house, hear a little bit of mewling taking place. And sure enough, Max's dog rape has led to a litter of puppies. All adorable, sweet little collies, except for one very puffy Mastiff puppy, and it starts growling. We have a sequel coming, Paul. We have a sequel. No, we don't.
Well,
No.
they haven't announced it yet. I think they're waiting on everybody that was involved in this movie to pass
Yes,
on.
I think they were waiting for the 30-year mark before they start entertaining a sequel to this. But fingers crossed. No, there's not going to be any damn sequel to this film.
But there have been a lot of murderous dog movies.
Well, sure. I mean, this is
Right.
right along the lines of
Cujo.
Cujo, right? And
Yeah, Cujo's right up there. I mean, look, if we were to try to pit Cujo against Max, I think Max wins because acid Pete,
well, there you go.
right? He's got weapons.
Yeah. So I mean, like, even if
Cujo's got that little barrel full of whiskey. I mean, that's all he's got around his neck.
Cujo gets the drop on him, gets him onto the acid beat defense, and the game just changes right there. Absolutely.
There was a movie in 1978. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this one called Dracula's Dog.
I'm not familiar with that one. No,
No, you never seen Dracula's
I've
Dog?
got to admit, I've missed this one.
Oh, you're gonna have to look that up and watch it. I mean, we're never gonna watch it for here because it's just I can't do two murderous dog films. But Dracula's Dog, 1978. Stan Winston did the practical effects. It's a practical effects dog that is a vampire that protects that protects him. Then there's another one I highly recommend that if you get a chance to watch it, it's called Satan's Dog, I think it is.
Of course.
I think it's called Satan's Dog. Play Dead. Play Dead. It was called Play Dead or Satan's Dog. And then there was another one with a pack of dogs in 1977 called Dogs, just straight up dogs. Now, look, the 70s was wrought with killer animal movies. And at some point we can discuss those at a topic, but the 70s was ripe for it. You know, bees, spiders, bears.
Kingdom of the Gods. We got to do that one at some point.
Yeah.
Marjoe Gortner and a 30-foot tall chicken. That's all I got to say right there.
Well, that's all you need to say.
But yeah, this one, I'll say this. This thing is so damn ridiculous, top to bottom. You got to watch it. I enjoyed it. And good news, it's on YouTube for free. Just got to endorse some commercials. And believe me, you could use a break every so often with this one. It's like, holy cow, I need another beer. Yes.
Pause it and move on.
That's going to be, that phrase will be uttered throughout this. But there you go. There you have it.
And then watch Old Yeller because that has a better ending.
It does. It is. It's so uplifting. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
You'll be a changed person for the better after that one.
That's right. Man's best friend and a little boy. What more could you want? You know, and then maybe follow it up with a little red fern where the red fern grows if you'd really like to, you know, keep the good feels we're moving.
We're gonna have to work on your New Year's resolutions. you went in the wrong direction on these, I think. So there you have it. I would say, yeah, definitely check this one out. It's fun. It is. It's well made, I'd say, at least for its era. It's not, you know, production values are decent. The dogs are kind of cool too. You know, big Tibetan Mastiff, but it looks cool. And just watching them swallow a cat alone, I think, was worth it.
Oh yeah,
that did it for me. I'll recommend this one. All right, Paul, why don't you let everybody know what kennel they can go to play around with you?
So find me on Zitter at Movie Paul. You know, might as well get on TikTok while you can. It may not be here tomorrow.
No, the world will be dashed of your toilet videos. I hope you have those saved to a hard drive somewhere, just for posterity. As for myself, you can see me on a daily basis over at townhall.com with my media column there called Rift from the headlines. Also on the front page of Red State on the regular, where I also have my twice weekly podcast called Liable Sources, diving even deeper into the muck and mire of the mainstream press. And you can hear more of me on this KLRN network. Next Thursday, I'll be here with Ordy Packard. He and I will always guide you through the important and vital information from the entertainment atmosphere on the culture shift. And every Tuesday, I am here at 8:30 with the ever effervescent Aggie Rican for the Cocktail Lounge. Your respite from the news, where we go over anything that's fun, relaxing, from sports, art, science, whatever kind of wackiness we find, we'll discuss it over the coasters. And then if you need more of me than that, let's face it, you do. You can find me on Jitter. I am at Martini Shark. All right, Paul, it's a new year, so we got some new selections in front of us. We're going to have to populate our schedule.
We got one more show in the month of January. Normally don't do 3 shows in a month.
No, but I think I have an idea in mind. We'll see. We'll kick it around a little bit. We'll come up with a little bit of I think I've got an appropriate one that you and I will both savor and enjoy for our audience.
Okay. I'm ready to see it.
Cool then. All right, gang. We will be back then in 2 weeks with more movie mayhem from Hollywood here on Disasters in the Making.
Oh, I'm guessing I missed my cue. Sorry, I had a grandchild in my ear.
I didn't hear any music, so that's why.
Yeah, I was distracted. My bad.
No problem. No problem. I was we were holding silent until making sure. Cool. All right then.